Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examination. We will try and understand some of the important articles which are in news from the Hindu newspaper, which are important both from the pre as well as your mains perspective. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article speaks about one of the important news that has been in the picture. What is it? We are speaking about the scam that is so-called alleged to have taken place in the state of Andhra Pradesh. What is this scam all about? Why was the former chief minister arrested? Why was he taken under the judicial custody? We will understand everything in a detailed video. So what is that you have to wait for? You have to wait for this video to be released because we will be covering this article detailedly in an elaborate way. So we will not be covering under today's Hindu analysis, but this article currently goes on to say that this entire scenario or the circumstance or the picture that has arrived is primarily because of the political vendetta politics. So should it happen? Should it not happen? Is that genuine concern that has to be addressed? What is this corruption scandal all about? We will discuss this in detail in an elaborate video which will be released shortly. So we will not be taking up as part of the Hindu analysis. So let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the concept of fraternity that is mentioned in the Constitution of India. We have the preamble of the Indian Constitution. What is the preamble? The preamble is like a preface to the Constitution of India. It is like an identity card. It is like an entry pass to the Constitution of India, which gives the objectives of the entire Constitution. So if a person asks, what is the Constitution of India? Explain me in a nutshell. Ask the person to read the Constitution's preamble. So it is the preamble which gives us an idea, a window to see what the entire Constitution is. The entire Constitution in nutshell is given as the preamble, which happens to be the preface of the Indian Constitution. When we look into the Constitution, we have the preamble, which happens to be a very important part and happens to the preface to the Indian Constitution. It says, we the people of India. When it comes to the Constitution of the country, we have the preamble, which can be segmented into four parts. One part happens to be the source of the preamble. What is the source of the preamble? The source of the preamble happens to be from where the preamble gets its power, the Constitution gets its power. So it is we the people of India, us, individual, community, all of us come together, and it is at this particular point the source of the preamble emanates from. What is the source? The source says that it is the power of the people electing the representatives selecting them and casting their viewpoints in the parliament of our country. So the Constitution basically says that the power is from we the people of the country. Next, what we have to look at is the nature of the Indian Constitution, and the nature of the Indian Constitution is given in the preamble. What does it say? It says that India happens to be a sovereign country, socialist country, secular country, democratic as well as republic. What is this? We spoke about the source of the Constitution. We spoke about the source of the preamble. Now what we have is the nature of the Indian preamble. What is the sovereign nature? A sovereign nature is that particular identity of a country which basically would be able to define and decide what its policies are and will not be superimposed or will not be dictated by another power. If there is a country which dictates what should be the policy, what should be the foreign diplomatic means and measures, that is not a sovereign country. A sovereign country is a country which should be able to decide its own policies at the domestic level, at the international level, and would be able to decide everything on its own independent decision making process. That is what is sovereign. Next, what we have is socialist. Socialist basically means that you have the state which includes the government, which will be able to take care of the major responsibilities of the people of the country. Why did we go ahead and decide that this socialist has to be included in the preamble and in the Constitution of India? That is because when you look at how India was governed prior to independence, we had the imperialistic government, we had a colonial government which was conducting its governance in the country. So there, when you look at United Kingdom, or for example in the Western powers, they had a concept of what is called as the liberalism. They had a concept of what is called as capitalism, where it was all under the control of the market forces as well as under the control of few people. Let's go back to the year 1929. What happened in 1929? There was a Great Depression. This Great Depression was a creation of the capitalism. So history has taught couple of lessons. So immediately after independence, the government feels, the political leaders feel that we have to give importance to the government, because it is the government which has the repository, it is the government which has the custodian of all the money, so they would be able to spend for the larger impact of the people. So immediately after independence, what we had is socialism, which was present implicitly, and that was made explicitly in one of the constitutional amendments which was introduced as part to the Indian Constitution. Which is this amendment which introduced socialist principle into the preamble? Please put it in the comment section. Then we know for the fact what is the meaning of secular. It is also part of the basic structure of the Indian Constitution, and secular basically means that the state will have no religion. We will not be a theological society, theological country like Pakistan, so all religions will be treated equally. Then we are democratic and we are republic as well, which will not be represented by one particular family or by one king or the kingdom. What we will have is democracy, where people will elect their elected representatives. Whosoever the person is would be able to contest the elections, and ultimately what we will have is people electing their own representatives, which is what is the nature of the Indian Constitution, which is given in the preamble. Now what we have to look at is the objectives of the preamble. What are the objectives of the preamble? The objectives of the preamble includes justice, liberty, equality and fraternity, and one of the objectives of the preamble happens to be the fraternity, which is what is the focus of this article. So what is this fraternity all about? As we have discussed, this fraternity is mentioned in the Constitution directly as well as indirectly. Where is it mentioned directly? As we have now discussed, it is part of the preamble. What does it say? Fraternity assuring dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation is what is mentioned in the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Added to it, we also have the fundamental duties as well. The fundamental duties under Article 51A says to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood among all people of India. Now the question is, what is this fraternity? Fraternity basically means brotherhood. Fraternity basically means an understanding. Fraternity basically means that we are all have to be treated equally as brothers and as brotherhood, which means to say that we have to develop that bonhomie, we have to develop that kinship, we have to develop that friendship, and there should be no disturbances between communities on the basis of linguistic, religious or communalistic ideologies. So basically, when we speak about fraternity, it is a concept that has emanated from the French Revolution. In French Revolution, what we have is liberty, equality and fraternity. The same was imported into Indian Constitution, and fraternity basically means that we should have brotherhood, kinship, bonhomie, friendship amongst the communities, irrespective of which religion or the caste or the race that we belong to. So it is coming together of the communities, it is coming together of the individuals, breaking the barriers of every other restriction that has been imposed by the society. So where do we have fraternity? Fraternity is basically given in what is called as the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Fraternity is also present as brotherhood in the fundamental duties. So friendship and mutual respect and support for each other in the society is what is called as the fraternity. When we look at the Constituent Assembly debates, the Constituent Assembly debates went on to discuss every section of the Constitution of India. There were large scale deliberations that went on, there were discussions that happened, there were large scale involvement for every article that was introduced into the Indian Constitution. There were large scale debates as well about the wordings that were supposed to have been used. At this particular moment, there was one article where none of them had issued issues, no major discussions took place, no deliberations took place, because most of them supported this very idea of brotherhood. So what is this fraternity and what are the opinions of the people as per the Constituent Assembly? Thakur Das Bhargava, who called the preamble the most precious part of the Constitution, expressed his gratitude to Ambedkar for having added the word fraternity to it. J.B. Kripalani referred to the great doctrine of fraternity and went on to say, it means that we are all sons of the same God, as the religious communities would say. But as the mystic would say, there is one life pulsating through all of us. As the Bible says, we are one of the other. There can be no fraternity without this, said J.P. Kripalani. In Annihilation of the Caste, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has written, an ideal society should be mobile, should be full of channels for conveying a change taking place in one part with another. In ideal society, there should be many interests consciously communicated and shared. There should be varied and free points of contact with other modes of association. In other words, there should be social endosmosis. That is fraternity, which is another form for democracy. Democracy is not merely a government, said Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So basically, when you look at the Constituent Assembly debates, they went on to decide that the fraternity, this relationship, this kinship, this bonhomie and the friendship between the communities and respect for each other will have to be supported and espoused. So as we speak about fraternity, it speaks about dignity of an individual. It also speaks about unity and integrity of the nation, and this can come up only in the scenario of what is called as understanding and bonhomie. So breaking all barriers of religion, caste, linguistic identities, regional identities, we have to create this bonhomie, and brotherhood is the meaning of what is called as the fraternity. So gains that we have to bring from this is about bringing a social milieu, bringing an understanding between the communities and the individual is the meaning of fraternity. The author in this particular case also brings into picture how history has seen fraternity. When you look at the origins, you also have Plato who's spoken about it, you also have Aristotle who's spoken about it, then what you see is the Middle Ages and then French Revolution. So the author goes on to say, in Plato's Lysis, the philosopher invokes the word philia, love, for the strong desire to pursue freedom and wisdom, that is, love and friendship with others become more meaningful through the sharing of knowledge. The emphasis is sharing of knowledge, which improves the fraternity. So once you have the knowledge, once you share the knowledge, that gives rise to more understanding, that creates brotherhood and fraternity is one idea. In Aristotle, we see the emergence of polis, the logical location of a man who remains first and foremost a political being and hence is part of polis and not the wild. Justice and friendship among citizens came to be most enduring features of the political fraternity. In the Middle Ages, fraternity flourished mostly through religion. Within the churning of the Christian society in Europe, and the concept of fraternity then eventually found its entry into the politics with the French Revolution. So the French Revolution introduced this concept of liberty, equality and fraternity. The same was introduced into the preamble of the Indian Constitution. But there are a couple of concerns of late with respect to the fraternity. What is it? We are divided on the communal lines. We are divided on the basis of caste. We are divided on the basis of religion. We are divided on the basis of region as well. There is imposition of one language over the other. There is majoritarianism versus minoritarianism. All these are the major impediments when it comes to the constructs of the fraternity, says this article. So what is the major issue according to the author? According to the author, what we are currently doing is we are creating and instigating a certain level of violence in the society. This is creating a toxic environment in the society, leading to differences of opinion between people in the society, and after an incident has occurred, we are going ahead with what is called as solidarity. This solidarity should not come up. That is to say, when the incident, if it does not generate or does not occur, what is the need for solidarity? So the idea being that you have to create that bonhomie and create a platform for greater understanding between the communities and the individuals is the first major point. So the author goes on to say that we are divided and there are barriers that are constructed which is acting as a major impediment to generate the bond harmony. So if we can destroy this, if we can annihilate this solidarity as a concept even does not arise because there is a platform that is created. Secondly, the call for such a fraternity is increasingly replaced with rhetoric of belligerent nationalism which castigates a grown religious minority against the arch enemy. So this divide of majority and minority is another issue that we have to focus on, and this idea of communalism will have to be brought to an end is the second one. And finally, the author also goes on to say that the acts of fundamentalism jettisons the possibility of fraternity. A fanatic can be anything but fraternal in true sense. So other areas which actually prevent from coming together of the communities should also be annihilated, is what is this article all about. So what is fraternity? Fraternity is nothing but brotherhood, and this is required for the individual dignity and for the integrity of the country, says this article. As B.R. Dr. Ambedkar ji said that liberty and equality will have to be read with fraternity. So liberty will go hand in hand with equality, equality will go hand in hand with fraternity. These three objectives will have to be read together. If one is not present, the other will not be able to achieve, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is important from your GS paper 3, which is from the security importance. What are we speaking about? We are speaking about one of the areas near the coastal belt of India called as the Harami Nala. Where is this Harami Nala? This happens to be a place which is located near Gujarat. So where is this Harami Nala? This happens to be a channel of Sir Creek that changes its course tidally and seasonally, which is along the border. So it is at this particular point that we have the Harami Nala. This happens to be a 22-kilometer tidal channel that is present along the India and Pakistan, and you also have parts of Rajasthan, Burma, which is also connected to it. So remember, where is this Harami Nala? It happens to be a tidal channel which is about 22 kilometers long, and this is present in Sir Creek, and it is along the India and the Pakistan border. A portion of Rajasthan's Burma district also touches this area. Why is this called as Harami Nala? There are two reasons for it. One is the geopolitical condition. The other happens to be a geographical condition. What is this geographical condition? As we have just discussed, it is part of Sir Creek, and due to the weather conditions and also due to the area and that particular region, what happens? It changes its course tidally and as per the seasons. So this particular region that we have seen as shown in the image happens to be a tide. So it is a flowing water in this region. So as and when weather changes, as and when season changes, the tide and its way it moves also changes. And added to it, it happens to be a region where India and Pakistan's border, despite it is clearly demarcated, because it also changes the tide waves, the way in which this particular wave goes into the region, what we have is number of Pakistani terrorists in the past have infiltrated in this region. So they have moved all the way from Pakistan. They have also entered India. It is also being alleged that during 2008 Mumbai terrorist attack, Ajmal Kasab may also have come into Mumbai during following this lane. So why is it called as Harami Nala? Harami Nala happens to be treacherous channel, and that is because it happens to change its path every now and then, and because it happens to be one of the regions which changes its path, it is also easy for the terrorists to enter this region. Added to it, this region is also known for its economic prosperity. Why? Because this region has lot of fishing opportunities. It also has a lot of prawns as well, which is why you have number of Pakistani fishermen also enter this area as well. There have been boats which have been left in the past as well because they were in an apprehension that they may be caught and treated as terrorists, and because of its economic advantages, you also have the fishermen who come up to this particular area. But what is the concern in this area? This happens to be a tidal channel which changes its path every now and then. So it happens to be one of the terrains which is very difficult to administer for the border security force. Why? Because they would not be able to enter this area. Since it happens to change its path every now and then, they would not have complete control on this area, and as a result terrorists may enter this area, and this could be a major problem. So what are the concerns of this Harami Nalla? It happens to be a place where formidable marshy terrain through which it runs makes it impossible to approach or patrol on foot even during the low tide. Since it is a marshy region, they would not be able to patrol this region in that area. There is treacherous tides, morass and mirages which are matched by scorching temperatures as much as 50 degrees Celsius in the summer. Extremes of temperature is another major problem. In the past, the entry point of the Harami Nalla on the Indian side could not be approached by the border security force because of the lack of infrastructure. So this means that there are a couple of concerns which the border security force had to face, and in order to overcome all these issues, in order to make sure that there is no infiltration of the terrorists, in order to provide them the required infrastructure, in order to protect the country along the border areas, what we have taken is number of measures in the past. So remember, this is important from your GS paper 3. So what have been done in the past? All-terrain vehicles were procured from Italy and they have been stationed at border pillar 1175, the last such observation port at the time. Speedboats tethered alongside also began to make a difference in terms of preventing ingress by Pakistani fishing boats. In the past 9 years, the Ministry of Home Affairs has ramped up the creation of composite BOP all along the border, including the creek and the Harami Nalla area, and a modern composite of BOP 1175 was constructed in 2016 and BOP 1170 in 2022. This means that we have certain troubles because of the marshy terrain. So we have the government take up number of measures, especially after the Modi government came into picture. Immediately after 2014, they have started reconstructing, reworking on this border areas. What is the context right now? Why are we discussing about it? That is because we recently had Home Minister who had visited this place of Harami Nalla and the border observation post, the border security force along the Kutch region of Gujarat. So basically they have introduced more measures in this region. So what are the measures that have been taken in the present situation? There have been initiatives that have been taken which are where they have spent more than 300 crores. According to the BSF release, the Home Minister laid the foundation stone for a mooring place at Koteshwar in Kutch and also inaugurated newly constructed Chidyamod Bayabit Link Road. So where is it? Chidyamod Bayarbit Link Road. It is in the state of Gujarat, and OP Tower in Harami Nalla area. In fact, we have the Home Minister who also tweeted that he had inaugurated a 9.5 meter tall observation post tower equipped with high resolution pan tilt zoom cameras to bolster intelligence gathering capabilities. So all the measures that should be taken to prevent the infiltration of the terrorists have been taken up by the government of India is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Nipah virus. What is this Nipah virus? How is it transmitted? What are the symptoms that are associated with the Nipah virus? What is this Nipah virus? This happens to be a virus that is transmitted and the natural host of it happens to be the fruit bat. How is it spread? Whenever there is a human being who consumes the fruits eaten by the infected bats or the birds, when he eats this fruit, the saliva and other secretions that are present will get transmitted to the human beings. Transmission of Nipah virus to the human beings may also occur after direct contacts with the infected bats as well as pigs. So this particular host, that is the bat, if the fruit is eaten by the bat and this fruit is consumed by the human beings, or the natural host happens to be the fruit bat, it is transmitted to the pigs, and from the pigs it can be transmitted to the human beings. So once a person develops the symptoms, he is going through the Nipah virus symptoms, this person can also transmit to another human being. So the transmission will happen from the animals to the human beings and from human beings to other human beings. So this happens to be a zoonotic disease. When we look into the Nipah virus, it happens to cause encephalitis, and it is an RNA virus of the family Paramyxoidae. It belongs to the genus Henapivirus, and which is closely related to Hendra virus, which was isolated in Australia in the year 1994. The first outbreak was reported in Malaysia and Singapore in 1998 and 99. The name Nipah came from the name of the village in Malaysia where the person in whom the virus was first isolated died of the disease. The virus appeared initially in domesticated pigs. In this first outbreak, nearly 300 humans were infected, more than 100 died as well, and 1 million of pigs were killed in order to prevent the expansion. The first outbreak in India hit Siliguri in West Bengal in Jan-February in the year 2001. What are the symptoms of the Nipah virus? A person suffering from Nipah virus will initially have fever. He will go through headache, drowsiness, disorientation, mental confusion, coma, potentiality of death because of all these symptoms. So what are the treatment plans? As of now, there is no specific treatment for the Nipah virus. Primary treatment is intensive support care that has to be provided to a person. So these are some of the important parameters when it comes to the Nipah virus. Now let's look into the next article. This article is important from your GS paper 1, which happens to be from the geography. Whenever there is a region that is hit by a volcano, or that is hit by an earthquake, or there are floods which cause a massive devastation, what you have to know is the country and the countries in and around it. So we have Libya, where we have a huge flooding that has taken place. So which are the countries that are in and around Libya, which are the seas above it, which are the oceans around it, is what you have to know. So which are the countries in and around Libya? What we have is Egypt, then what we have is Sudan, followed by Chad, then what we have is Niger, Algeria. So these are the countries in and around Libya. Next, what we have to know is places within the country. So which is the place that is currently in news? One of the places happens to be Derna. So what exactly has happened? We have a flooding that has taken place in Libya. Why? That is because of a storm. A storm Daniel occurred in Libya, and as a result of which, what we are witnessing is massive floods in the state of Libya and in one of the places called as Derna. There were 2 dams that were present because of the large scale flooding, because of the large scale rainfall, because of storm Daniel. There were 2 dams that were present in Derna. Both these dams immediately break off. So because of the weak infrastructure, these dams open up, or there is breakage of the dams, and as a result, this entire region is inundated with water, and it goes to as much as 10 feet in length, 3 meters in length. So what exactly happens? There is storm Daniel. This storm Daniel causes heavy rainfall. Because of the heavy rainfall, there is a dam that was constructed in Derna. There are 2 dams. These dams were not able to withstand the pressure, and they break, they shatter, and immediately there is flooding that it opens the floodgates, and the entire city is flooded with water, which results in more than 3,000 lives being lost. Added to it, when you look at what's happening in Libya in the year 2011, what we have is a major internal turmoil with the death of the Gaddafi. So Gaddafi was governing the country. After his passing away, the country is in a state of civil turmoil. So what exactly happens in Libya? There are currently 2 groups. One is on the left side, that is on the east. One is on the eastern side, the other is on the western side. So there are 2 governments that is being parallelly run. The administration in the west of the country is led by Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Debia, which is based in Tripoli and is recognized internationally. In the district-stricken east, there is another administration led by Benghazi-based House of the Representatives. The conflict between them has left the oil country of a weakened infrastructure. So the major problem right now is that Libya currently is governed by 2 types of government. One in the west, which is recognized by the international governments and by other countries. There is another part on the east which is governed by another group. So one which is on the eastern side is not recognized by the international organizations Now it is the eastern side which is not recognized by the international quarters, which is facing the heat of the floods. So as a result, what they now require is the money, but then the Central Bank of Libya is under the control of the Western powers, which is internationally recognized. Even if the Central Bank of Libya decides to give the money, as of now they have not released the money, even if they decide to transfer the money to the eastern side, how will it work? How will they take care of it is the major question. So you have the western side, you have the eastern side. The western side is internationally recognized, eastern side is not recognized, and the central bank is under the control of the western side. So the transfer of money is not taking place in the present situation, and added to it, even if it is transferred, how will they work? Because the government in the West is what is internationally recognized, is some of the major issues with respect to Libya right now. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about MGNREGA wages. The article is here important from the mains examination point of view, where it gives you one of the parameter which can be used in the answer writing. What is it? Delays in the disbursement of Mahatma Gandhi National Guarantee Program schemes in Bihar's Muzaffarnagar have led to severe financial stress. We have the central government and the state governments which have to work, and they have to make sure that wages are given to the people who have been working in the MGNREGA sector. But then the governments have been releasing the amount very late, so there is delay, and as a result people are not able to get the money and their salaries on time. Because they are not able to get their wages on time, this has become a major problem. They are taking money from the money lenders. Since they are taking money from the money lenders, they are charging exorbitant interest rates, and this is leading to financial stress of the people who are working in the MGNREGA, is what is this article all about. So basically we have the central government which has to release the funds, the state government which has to provide the wages to the people. Now because they are not releasing the funds, they require the money, so they are taking it from the brokers as well as the middlemen, and these middlemen are charging exorbitantly high rate of interest, which ultimately means there's financial stress for these people. They are not able to take care of their children as well as their family, and this is a major problem, says this article. So this point can become a fodder for you in your mains answer writing. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Boj wetlands. Whereas this Boj wetlands, this happens to be a place in the state of Madhya Pradesh. This can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. The Boj wetland consists of two lakes located in the city of Bhopal. The two lakes are the Bojtal, which happens to be the upper lake, and the lower lake, which lie to the west of the city center. The lakes are home to a diverse flora and fauna, including many water birds. They have been designated a wetland of international importance under the International Ramsar Convention since August 2002. So this is the Boj wetland, is in the city of Bhopal. It is in the state of Madhya Pradesh. It has been identified as the Ramsar, as one of the designated wetland of international importance under the Ramsar Convention. Added to it, there are a couple of issues that are associated with this Boj wetland. We have just discussed that it is one of the important regions which gives host, or it is host to number of birds as well as flora and fauna. But there are anthropogenic factors that are introduced. What are those? One, there are increasing cases of industrial activities. There is agricultural residue that comes into the river. This river also acts as a source of drinking water. It is a source of fishing activity to couple of people in this particular locality. But because of the industrial activities and agricultural residue coming into it, there is lot of pollution that is taking place in the region, and as a result there is a large scale devastation that is caused to this river. So basically this river, which is in Madhya Pradesh, has a lot of industrial waste, agricultural waste dumped into the river, and the drinking water facilities and other irrigation facilities which was supposed to have been provided and is being provided is taking a hit, is what is this article all about. So basically the biodiversity is taking a hit, the other activities is taking a hit, and we have to take care of it, is what is this article all about. So basically this happens to be a tourism place. There are kayaking activities, boating activities that takes place. All of this will be hit in case there is polluted water, is what this article all about. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. So this is it for today. In case you're liking these articles and videos, please do like, subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with your fellow aspirants as well. Thank you for watching. All the best.